I'm Christy.
And I'm Kathy.
And this is The Psychic
And the Skeptic. Welcome back to The Psychic and the Skeptic. And on this episode, we are opening our case files again and visiting the Wind and Stone. So this is a venue in Lone Wolf, Oklahoma, that is a historic location, used to be a racetrack and an old amusement park for the area. It's located in the Quartz Mountains, part of a state park in Oklahoma, and beautiful property, acres and acres. It currently functions as a campground and event center. There are a couple of buildings on the location. A famous water slide for the local area is there, and that is still functioning, as well as a little mini snack bar, ice cream shop. One of the buildings was a roller rink during the times of the amusement park.
And now she uses that for laser tag. People can come in, hold conferences, stay in the dorms.
Right. Some church camps function in her facilities. And she does wedding event planning. It's just a
multi-purpose
event center. So the Wind and Stone is in the town of Lone Wolf, formerly known as Craterville, and it was founded in 1901 and named for Chief Lone Wolf. He was the warrior chief of the Kiowa tribe from 1843 to 1923. This is Kiowa County in Oklahoma, which is a tribal nation. This community is located 9 miles west of Hobart and is located about 6 miles east of the North Fork of the Red River, and the Red River separates Oklahoma and Texas. So Texas and Oklahoma Railroad runs in a northeasterly direction through town, which is always interesting for paranormal investigations. The client's property is 26 acres just south and west of Quartz Mountain Nature Preserve. This is known as a ceremonial ground for the Kiowa, Comanche, Wichita, Apache, and Caddo tribes. Archaeologists have found evidence that Paleo-Indian people hunted woolly mammoths near Quartz Mountain between about 11,000 and 20,000 years ago. So according to Oklahoma Arts Institute at Quartz Mountain, on their website, they say excavations at Cooperton site in Kiowa County provide the earliest known evidence of people in the state of Oklahoma. Spain and France traded Quartz Mountain several times before the U.S. bought the area as part of the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. So that's some interesting history, and it's pretty in that area, too, if you drive through.
Oh, yeah.
We don't really have mountains in Oklahoma, but
certain parts
so if
have
you're
large
from
hills.
a mountainous area, these will look more like hills, but it's really interesting terrain. Several Native American tribes occupied the area until the late 1800s, and in 1887, Quartz Mountain was affected by the gold rush. But U.S. military regained control of the region and opened the land to settlement in 1901. And then by 1937, Quartz Mountain officially became a state park. Later, the area became a U.S. Army post. And there's pictures on the property of when this was an Army post. Historical legend says that General Custer's Bugler was killed on the client's property. And this was really interesting for me as the historian, because this is just a legend. This is a story that's been passed around. So this Bugler was killed on the property when it was owned by the U.S. Army. And it was thought he was an elk when he was shot. But in fact, General Custer's Bugler is John Martin. And apparently he was born in Italy and ended up in New York City and worked for the subway system there, eventually dying in Brooklyn, New York in 1922. So in my historical research, I was able to find this person out. Maybe Custer had another Bugler and it wasn't documented, and that's who was mistaken as an elk. But the only Bugler I could find was listed to have been living in New York City at the time when he died. But what's interesting about this story is that he died after getting hit by a beer truck.
Beer, like B-E-E-R?
Beer, like drink.
Well, that's interesting.
I know. Poor guy, right? It really hit him hard, huh?
That was cheesy, but yet funny. We both laughed.
I know. And laughter is not meant to be disrespectful to him. He's passed. Right. I think that's just a coping mechanism that we use. Just dark humor. Some people get it. But it could not be confirmed that Custer had even traveled through Quartz Mountains. So history is kind of debunking some of these legends. I don't want to say it's 100% false because maybe we're just looking in the wrong place and have the wrong names.
Possibly.
But in 1961, Craterville Speedway was a stock car racetrack that was opened on the property, and it only operated for 4 years and closed in 1965 because a tragic accident happened on July 4th in 1964. What happened was a race car had spun out and broke through the safety fencing and ended up killing a 4-year-old boy and injuring 8 others who were spectators. His parents were included in those injuries and 4 other family members. All of them were from Texas. Interestingly, this story was published in a newspaper in San Francisco, so news traveled that far.
Oh.
But other articles in the local newspapers talk about races that continued into the year 1965. So it's not known exactly when the track closed. However, it is known locally that the track closed in 1965, but only remained open for 1 season before closing again in 1966. It's thought that the tragedy that had occurred there was too terrible for the community to recover from, and it just saw a decline in attendance at races. And in the cases on our website for OKPRI, we have pictures of that newspaper article and the poor 4-year-old boy's headstone at his gravesite in Texas. But the racetrack reopened again in 1977 as Quartz Mountains Speedway, and it remained open until 1992 and finally closed permanently. And you can see the remnants of the old racetrack there. There's still some stands. It's a bit overgrown. I think they were making some kind of motocross field at one point for motorcycles and
Yeah. They actually
dirt
used it
bikes
for
and
that.
stuff. Yeah, so you could see that they've added to it since then. But
I think goats are helping to mow the grass right now.
maybe. I don't know. We walked through there before, and there's
Mhm.
quite a bit of thorns and probably lots of ticks out there.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely nature has overtaken that racetrack.
Mm-hmm. But it's
Like-
kind of cool to see this
Right.
what once was.
It's a bit ominous, though, because the viewing stands are there.
Mm-hmm.
And
All the concrete steps.
Mhm. And that's where the barricade was. You can still see part of the barricade
Mhm.
there. I don't know if it's the one that was hit or if it was reinforced after the accident, but
Oh, I'm
it's
sure they
still
would have done that.
it's unsettling looking at it today.
Mhm. So, some of the claims for the business, first off, one of the employees that worked in the store in the A-frame building, she witnessed bread that would be on the store shelves that would just suddenly fall off the shelves by themselves. And the guests who would stay in the conference room, in the little dorm areas, said they felt like maybe their arm was pushed or they were being touched. Also, a little girl, like a ghost, has been seen in the back corner room in the main building. There's also been a young woman that's been spotted in the back of the park grounds.
So
And
this was in that camping area, right? Near some
Correct.
storage buildings.
yes. And then in the conference building, all sorts of voices are heard throughout. Doors often open and close on their own, and a shadowy figure has been seen. The owner captured a strange video on her security camera in front of the A-frame building. It resembled a strange, bright white, smoky image.
Yeah, I think this one was pointed towards the water park area. And when she showed us the video, it had that typical blurry white round, not really an orb, but it had a little bit of a transparency. And we'd seen an image like this before. And images that resemble what she had were when there's an insect on the lens of the camera. But it can make it look a little transparent and ghost-like, and it appears as if it's off in the distance. But when there's a bug right up on the lens, it makes it look large. You could see movement, and you repeat back in the video, you could see little legs. So it was too easy to explain that one away. And
For the skeptic, it was anyway.
yeah.
I don't really know if she believed it to be that, to be honest, and
No,
she may
the
not have.
owner of the property was very on the fence about activity, and she was more concerned about her employees. When they first contacted us, it's a small business, and she takes care of her employees and doesn't want anybody feeling scared on the property.
Correct.
But over time, she revealed to us that she had heard some claims and maybe had some questionable things. She may lean a little skeptic and maybe blew some things off originally, but she felt it was a good time for us to come in and
Check it out.
just kind of be objective and give another opinion, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so
So,
that's
yeah.
what we did.
We'd actually been to this location twice. So on this episode, we'll combine our experiences from both times investigating. The second time, the owner had reached out to us because there were some more claims of activity since our first investigation. We decided to organize this episode based on the different areas since it's such a huge property.
Do you know she's contacted us since and said that they still have activity going on?
I wouldn't doubt that.
And one of the things she said, she was in the conference room area, and she said it just felt like she was walking into a brick wall. She said the energy was just so thick.
I know that feeling. That's what I
Mhm.
had at the Church of the Restless.
Yeah,
I'm like trying to walk through water in a way.
right.
Interesting.
activity's still going
That's
on.
very interesting. Maybe we should go back. But and again, this is a place where lots of events happen. We've got setup for paranormal. We've got the loss of a child who had passed.
Mhm.
You have events that happen there, big milestones in people's lives like weddings, or even very spiritual experiences like some of these church camps. So that definitely gives it potential for energy to either hang around residually. There's photos from back when the park was more active, and clearly there's happy memories that occurred there and some tragic.
Sure.
So that definitely places this kind of a location high up on our investigation list when people reach out to us because of all that potential.
Right. All these historical pictures, guys, I will post them on our Facebook and Instagram pages, so you'll see past and present and some
Right.
of our investigation photos themselves.
Yeah, anything, any old amusement park with rides that aren't in use
Mhm.
kind of gives you the creepy factor.
She's got one of those rides, though, that is really rare, and it's so antique that
Yes, the Ferris wheel.
Yeah,
There's a spaceship ride
Yeah.
that was used for pilot training, for G-force training.
Yep.
Very cool location. So during the first investigation, we arrived at our usual late afternoon time, just to give us enough daylight to get a tour of the vast property.
Mhm.
So it includes buildings and areas where the activity had reportedly occurred. Again, multiple buildings. This resulted in a very long walk through, about a little over an hour of our time spent just getting oriented to the property. So while walking from the back portion of the property towards the front,
I had
you
an
had an
experience.
experience.
Yes. So all the investigators were with the owner walking around. And since I didn't want to hear any of the claims or know anything, I always go in blind. I just walked around the property myself. And as I'm walking, I'm probably about halfway up the property. Like I'd already walked all the way to the back and now I was walking up. I felt like I was being watched and maybe followed. But of course, there's nothing there. And there were no children present or nearby me on the property at all. It wasn't until I listened to my audio recorder that I heard this young child's voice saying, "Mama."
This one is pretty compelling.
Yeah. Why don't
If
we?
you rule out any other factors.
Yeah. And I swear there was nobody around.
I can't help the skeptic side in me wonder if there was a child in the neighborhood nearby, but there was quite a distance.
From that. And on top of it, the time of season, nothing else over there at the time was being rented out.
But there is a neighborhood where people do live there year round. There's also temporary
RV and
RV campsites on the property.
and cabins.
And there were no campers on the property while we were there both times.
She only opens it up during the warmer seasons and then it closes down for the fall and the winter.
So could this have been somebody in one of the nearby neighborhoods? You're going to hear for yourself in
I
the
don't think
audio
so.
clip. it sounds far too close. So you'd have
Mhm.
to see the property and know the distance of where the houses are. For
Mhm.
this voice to travel that far is pretty
Right.
remarkable. So let's play that clip for you. So yeah, you hear sounds like a little boy off in the distance.
Or maybe a little girl.
I guess maybe because of the history, my thought goes with a 4-year-old tragically lost.
Yeah, but I think for me, psychically, I didn't really pick up on that.
He wasn't there.
Correct.
And I'm sure we'll get into that later, but
On who I thought was there. There was
right.
someone connected to history. It just wasn't the little
I
boy.
do remember when your walkthrough, though, I knew about that tragedy and it was in the back of my head, but you weren't picking up on that. Probably because his spirit presence wasn't there.
Correct.
And that is a thankful thing. After an accident like that, you really don't want a child's spirit to be stuck earthbound.
Oh, yeah. Earthbound. Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
So I know you want to hear that one again. So I'll play it for you one more time.
Now, the first investigation, we just went simply handheld equipment because the property was so big, we really didn't know what to expect. So we didn't technically set up base anywhere. Now, the second time we did, after we got back from dinner, we decided to set up our base operation in the large conference building.
And I think that's because some of the employees that work out of that building were having more and more experiences. So we knew we'd want to set up some cameras in
Right.
that location.
So we started to do our setup at this point. And Kathy, that's when you had your experience
Right. So you walk into a concessions
on the right side.
perhaps, and the middle of the building is where the rink is or the laser tag or just a wide open area. They might do church services in there as well.
Mhm.
And on the opposite side of the building, it's set up for overnight stays. Lots of dorm room or sleeping areas with bunk beds and things like that for summer camps. And so it's closed off in that section, that sleeping area. There's a door that enters into a hallway with restrooms and showers and all kinds of accommodations. So I was going into that part of the building to check on a couple of investigators that had gone to the restroom.
I think I
And
was one of those, wasn't I?
it might have been. I'm not sure.
I can't remember.
It might have been. I enter through the hallway and that door was open
Mm-hmm.
as I pass through. And I go into the restroom. I find everybody. On the way back, I noticed the door was closed. I had just walked through. The door was open. And of course, there's nobody that came behind me. Nobody's come in since then. And we're on our way out. So I asked them, had you guys got around behind me at some point, closed that door? Nobody had touched that door. As a matter of fact, the door was closed originally. They opened it to go use the restroom, leaving it open. I come in behind them. We didn't hear a door slam. We didn't see the door move or anything like that. It's just interesting because this is one of the claims for the building. And so here we are. We're barely getting started and we've already got a door closed.
That makes us more excited when we know that we can validate a claim that the owners and the employees have had.
Right.
So
Right. It's essentially why we're there. We want to help them as somebody from the outside see if we're experiencing what they're experiencing.
Mhm.
Some people want to make sure, hey, I'm not crazy. Am I? Are you guys seeing this too? And then at the same time, can we find an alternate explanation or is this something paranormal?
Exactly. So then what happens next, Kathy?
So we started to investigate both times around 9 p.m., just with all this set up and that huge property. And
Mhm.
the A-frame building was an area of concern for activity, so we went over there right away. And we started in this A-frame building. There are 2 levels. The store is on the bottom. There's tables in there now for snacks. They've expanded it a little bit since the first time we visited. We stayed downstairs for a little while, got a feel for the building, see if we could hear what the normal sounds of equipment that's there, security cameras and all kinds of
Ice
electronics,
machines.
things like that. And not really much was happening. And so you were feeling compelled to go
up.
upstairs.
Which was just primarily used for storage.
Yeah. So it is like a loft area up there. So you can see and hear into the first level from a part of the second story.
It's like a half wall, and you can look over it and look down and
Yeah.
see.
Like
Yeah.
a loft. And there's a very narrow staircase that leads up to the second story. And there was a door that accesses this stairwell. And Curtis had opened it. And as we were all getting ready to go up these stairs, and he noticed it was steep and said, "Hey, I'll stay here if you need help getting up." And because we're carrying other equipment and things, it could fall. We have to be real careful, make sure we have our flashlights. It's really dark.
And we had coats on, so they're a little bulky. The
Right?
weather was
Oh,
turning.
yeah, it was very cold too. I
Yeah,
don't know
it
if
was
we
cold.
mentioned that.
You and I were the only ones that decided to go up there. It's too small for all of
Right.
you
I
up
think,
there.
yeah, there was still quite a bit of storage up there that first time, and I think it was cleaned out a little bit since
Mhm.
our second investigation. So I had gone up ahead, and you were behind me, and all of a sudden the lights come on.
Upstairs, we see them turn on.
And I thought maybe you had turned it on. And you're like, "No, I passed the light switches." Because initially we thought maybe this was motion sensing. That was my first gut instinct. And no, there's actual light switches, and they were in the up position. In playing back the audio, you can actually hear those light switches switch.
I even went and tried to recreate my movements going up the stairs, and so did you. Just could we have easily bumped this or?
Yeah, we tried everything we could.
Yeah,
It's,
there's no way we
no.
did it. Wow, those are some steep steps.
It feels very wiggly up here. I don't know, did you flip the switch?
No, I did not.
The switch is up.
So after that, nothing more happened in the A-frame building from that first investigation. Now, the second investigation, we invited API to go along with us. So we went ahead and went to the A-frame, and we didn't have a whole lot going on downstairs again, but decided we were going to go up there and do a little sit down. And we had some interesting things that began to happen. There was a man in spirit who was there who I started hearing answer some of our questions. And then during the same sit down, we had heard, I don't know, it was some sort of weird, I don't know if you, how would you describe that? Like a bang or a,
Yeah, either something fell or
Mhm.
somebody slammed something or
right.
dropped something very heavy.
And then there's this voice. Now, my audio recorder captured this, and Jill's did too from API, but hers was a little bit louder and clearer, I think. Now, when we put it on the computer, it sounded like this man could be saying, "Get back," or "Keep back." I'm not really sure. So let's go ahead and play this audio clip and see what you guys hear. Do you hear the "get back" or "keep back," or hear something different?
This one, and it lights up green.
Where's the REM pod at?
It's on the stairs. Yeah, see, there's the ice.
Yeah, I kind of struggle with that one because there's a lot of voices going on there. It's tough to discern whether somebody's moving and it just sounds like a whisper, but I just hear like a shoo at the end and that's it.
So after that, we continued our investigation up there. And I remember Brooke had asked the man who we were in communication with if he could knock a couple of times on the window to let us know that he was there. And that's when our audio recorder captured a man's voice whispering, but saying, "Yeah." But interesting enough, right after that, we had a light REM pod activation. And if you know anything about the REM pod, it does not go off very easily. So let's go ahead and play that EVP of the man's voice saying, "Yeah."
On that window, can you go boom and knock on the window?
You need to be loud so we know it's you.
Did you hear that?
I heard,
I heard that.
Is that a yes? Christy, I heard that.
So after we had left the A-frame building, we decided to go investigate the grounds a little bit more in depth. We did sit downs over by the skating rink, the amusement park ride area, just different places, a racetrack.
And a sit down What we mean by that is we stay still, sit literally, and listen to the environment, get used to the normal sounds, and see if anything strange happens. And we can also ask questions at this point, not invoking anything, but for what's already there. Who's here? Would you like? Do you need help? Do you need to communicate something? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and see if they interact with any of our equipment too. But after we were done investigating the grounds, we decided to go into the conference dorm room building and do our sweeps, which we didn't really have a whole lot happen. So then we went into one of the main hallways just down from the restrooms and decided to do a sit down. So we set up some equipment. We had some light bulbs. We had some EMF meters like the REM pod, just different equipment all throughout. And we were monitoring sitting down on 2 different hallways. Like,
They were intersecting, almost like a T intersection in the hallway. Yeah.
and so part of the team was investigating one sides of the hallway, and then the rest was on the other end. And we do that sometimes so we can just see if activity happens, what direction is it coming from? Are you experiencing the same things there as we are here? Just anything.
We're spread out, but yet we're still in communication with each other. We can still see each other,
Hear
hear
each
each
other.
other clearly.
Yeah. So about this time, it's around 1 a.m. So, it's getting close to the witching hour, so to
Mhm.
speak, but not quite. And again, this was that old skating rink. But we had some of the little light up cat balls that were placed throughout the building. And about 1:29 a.m., our team heard these 2 loud knocks coming from one of the unoccupied hallways. Now, it was heard audibly by many of us who were there. And I think you can hear in the clip, if I'm not mistaken, us mentioning about hearing it.
Right. Yeah. If we hear something strange, we usually
Call it out. Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and play the 2 loud knocks. And remember, we're dead silent by this time listening.
What was that? Oh,
Okay. So I hear technically 3 sounds in there, but 2 that are more prominent. You hear the bang, then there's some kind of middle sound, and what sounds like a male voice in the distance saying, "Whoa." It's not Jill, because you hear Jill come in later. When we say, "What was that?" and Jill's off in the distance, she was covering one of the hallways, and it was closer to her. So you can hear her say, "I don't know."
Yeah, I
But you
hear her
hear
say
the
that.
bang and you hear a male voice. So I think we've got 2 things going on in here, but let's play that again.
what was that? Oh,
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting clip. And moving on, I know as we got into this investigation, we did have some activations on the cat ball. So you just see them suddenly just light up on their own. You'd have to touch
Well,
them
if
to
it
set them
moved,
off.
yeah, it would light up, but something has to tap it or touch it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we decided to do an Estes session. For those of you that don't know what that is,
It's a radio, AM,
Mhm.
FM radio that scans quickly.
right. And then a person can be blindfolded with a pair of noise canceling headphones on, and you separate that person a little from the person or people that are asking questions. And then if a voice is heard through the radio stations, the person listening will call that out, and you just see if there's any matching correlation between questions being asked and words or phrases coming out from the person who's listening.
The radio station scans so quickly, it almost creates a white noise. So
Correct.
you're never really stopped on any one radio station long enough to get a full word out. You're looking for several words or phrases when you're listening usually, but every now and then there's a voice that's different than the background radio sounds that you hear.
Yeah. And it really stands out. And so
Mhm.
that's how you kind of really know that it's spirit versus the radio. So as we started doing this, Kathy happens to have the headphones on at this point, and she's listening. And we all heard this. This is how loud that it was. But it was a whistling sound, which is so uncommon coming from the radio stations. I don't think I've ever heard a whistling sound before. Have you, Kathy?
Through an Estes session?
Mm.
No, not on the radio.
And so we can play this clip, but what I want you to listen for is the whistling that's captured audibly through her headphones onto our audio recorders.
So, yeah, the headphones were loud enough that you could hear what I was hearing, but I
Mhm.
couldn't hear what you guys were asking.
But
So,
all of us around heard this same whistling.
and it happened to pick up on a recorder. So here we go.
I did it again. I heard that one. Did you hear it?
I heard that.
So yeah, it sounds like a real quick, come here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, or it's trying to get our attention, perhaps.
Quite possibly.
Very
I'll be like,
interesting to be through an Estes session and over the radio.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Whistling doesn't make sense. I think that's the first time I've ever heard
I
whistling.
think our listeners can kind of relate to that one, just having listened to a radio before.
Exactly.
So, where do you think is going on from a spiritual perspective?
I do think that this property has a few different spirits from it. Maybe a couple that are tied to the area. So on my first visit, I had picked up on this man over by the A-frame building. And to me, he really felt like he was connected to the property, like he was a previous owner and he had taken great pride in the location and what went on. And he was very concerned about what had happened to the property over the years, how it had changed, right? And he wanted to help. I felt like he still had that good intention. Let me give you a hand, help you out here. But he really focused in and showed me the period when he was in control around the 1960s. And this is when I had sensed the death of a young child associated with this property and kind of this time frame. And I didn't really know how it was all connected at that point. Not until later on when it was revealed, after we had already done all of our walkthroughs and all that, about this little boy dying from the
Right.
race car track.
Mhm.
So now this man is not malicious. He just basically is just, I guess he just chooses to stay in this location because he's tied to it. It was like a family business. I did feel like maybe it wasn't passed down in family like it could have been. And I also encountered him on the second visit as well. So he's one of those spirits that is a fixture to this location. Now, on the back of the property, by one of the storage buildings, I had also picked up on a dark-headed young woman or girl. She looked like she could have been, I don't know, anywhere from 9 to teenage years, maybe 13, 14, I don't know.
Younger teenager.
Yeah. And I had suddenly seen her engrossed by a fire, and the flames were all around her. I felt her very scared, very panicky, and she was trying to beat on the door to get out, and she couldn't get out. She was calling for her mother, and no mom in sight, and she perished in the fire. What I couldn't figure out was, did that happen on the property by the building where I'd seen that at? It was a old double wide mobile
I
home. and
remember you were really pulled to that spot and you had to stand by that door from the outside of the building.
But going inside that home, there was no fire that had taken
No,
place.
and
So
I wonder, it's still a mystery and why that building, or maybe she was trying to communicate to you because we're in the vicinity of where this happened, maybe?
No,
or-
I think it's just that's where it hit me. That's where she was like, hey, here I am.
and you didn't know if it had anything to do with that building or
Mm,
not. Yeah.
But we did find out later on that there was a building or a home or something that had burned down
Yes, a
behind that
neighborhood.
property and on the other side of the street.
Yes, in the neighborhood across the street. Yes, so some
Correct.
distance, but still within the area, the local area.
Now, whether or not this was tied to her and her home, no idea.
And that was a recent fire. I remember that we had walked the neighborhood the second investigation and saw
Mm-hmm.
the remnants. But so I think your vision was before that fire had actually
Oh,
occurred.
yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
just interesting. And it's not the first place that had a fire. There was another fire nearby.
That's what I was saying, behind the property.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's still on the property, in the back of the property, but not the same building where you contacted the girl.
No, but that building that you're thinking of, that's not owned by the current.
Oh, it's off the property.
Yeah, it belongs to somebody else.
But I think it had part of the roof had collapsed. There was probably just no money in repairing it.
I think
But
so.
nobody had perished in that fire. Nobody was trapped there. So that was
Not that we could
that was
find.
known by the owner of the property. She said nobody had died in that.
So, she could have been a spirit that wasn't associated there. She was transient, but just liked the park and decided to stay. I don't know.
And the area where you encountered her is about the area
Yes.
where we picked up that EVP,
Oh, the mama?
the mama EVP.
Close by.
Yeah.
Not, yeah. Where I captured it was up a little bit. Do I believe that's her? Yeah, I believe that could be.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what's unique about that area where I saw her at, and I didn't know this until afterwards, but that is where some of the campers back there report seeing a dark-headed girl back there.
Yeah, it was a hot spot for the outdoor area.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, okay, moving on. So on my second visit, of course, as I mentioned, I saw the man, the owner guy in the A-frame building. He was still there. Hey, how you doing, friend? When we went to go do the sit down, we come back to see you. And I do believe he's the one that we encountered in the A-frame building itself.
Did he turn the lights on for us? He was trying to be helpful, maybe.
Let me show you. Let me help you on your way up here.
Yeah, it's a little steep up here. Let me put the lights on.
He was keeping us from suing him. Us possibly falling. No. Okay. So in the conference room, the conference building, I picked up on a little girl. She was probably 6 or 7, maybe 8 years old, not real old. Her name was Anna, and she was very playful, very friendly. She did tell me that she liked to be around other children who would occasionally come into the park and stay and ride the rides and come into the buildings. So she did tell me, though, she was sad in some ways because she did miss her mommy and her daddy, and she wished that they would come for her. So I did ask my guides on the other side and the angels if they would send her parents her way to come and help her cross. I do believe that she's the one that set off our cat balls. I do believe she's the one that messes with the doors. So I don't know. Who's to say if we were to go back, if we would encounter Anna again? I don't know. And then the other one that I encountered was a military man. Now, I think he's transient, like Anna. He felt like he had military connections from possibly World War II. And again, not connected to the property, just a passing through spirit. But he did show me his final moments and showed me his death through his eyes. I will say sometimes when spirits do this, it can be memories that just stick with you forever. You can't get those images out of your head, and they seem so very real, almost like you're living that firsthand. And I remember sensing everything that he felt. I felt and heard war all around me. There was no sense of safety. And I remember I was in a horrible state of panic. And I felt so alone. I started having a hard time breathing. And of course, again, this is him, okay, showing me what happened at death. And then everything got really dark around me. I think he was probably injured in some way and was dying. And so this was his last moments. I felt he had run away from being attacked. And in the process, he was wounded, fatally wounded.
And maybe the blackness was when he'd passed out, lost too much blood, something like that.
Yeah, I do believe that.
Do you think that because he felt alone and scared that he's trying to communicate his story to you so that at least somebody knows what happened to him?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Quite
I think he's
sad.
one of those earthbound spirits that is just stuck here and he doesn't know how to go or where to go.
Now, we know that property has a military connection, but also nearby is Fort Sill, not too far. So the Quartz Mountains are east of there. It's a bit of a drive, but maybe some kind of connection there.
Possibly, yeah.
Just kind of traveled to where the Christie beacon was shining.
Right. I know that I looked up his uniform online afterwards because I was so bothered by this.
Yeah, it really stayed with you.
It did. And again, when you see those last minute moments, those images just they're seared into your head.
As the skeptic, the comment you made that stood out to me, and a former veteran, not that I experienced war, of course, firsthand.
Thank you for
like
your
that,
service.
but you're welcome. Thank you for your support. The comment where you said no sense of safety is what our soldiers do experience, especially in a chaotic moment like that. Sure. And that panic that sets in. That's not common knowledge. I imagine people could narrow things down to feelings like that, but that came out early in how you described what you felt. And that is a known feeling of soldiers, is that loneliness and that especially that loss of that sense of security and safety.
Mm-hmm.
You're vulnerable, you're out there and you can't escape.
And I could hear the gunfire and just war all around. And for all of if there's any of you military personnel from even not just from the United States, but from around all the world, if you serve your country and you do it for the good, I just want to say thank you, because that takes a lot of courage. I don't think I could do that personally.
And my efforts with the military were in support of those who were on the front line, and the fact that I was medical, and that was my drive, was to help and heal
the
wounded after taking on that risk for the good of your country and the good of people for peace.
Well, this guy, I knew he was World War II. And all I could say is the uniform that I saw him in, I saw it so clearly. And it was like this camouflage, and they had these round hats. And so what I did is I did some Google search, and I found the type of uniform that I saw this man in. And so that's one of those pictures that I will post on our Facebook and Instagram page if you guys are curious about checking that out. So when this episode releases, those photos always release. But I did tell him, I gave him the opportunity to cross. I talked with him. I told him, you don't have to stay here. He was very leery, though, almost like he wasn't sure about the other side. He was scared.
Hasn't coped with his passing, perhaps.
And so right after he showed me his death, he just quickly disappeared and he was gone. And I even called him back and was trying to get him to come back so I could help him some more. But I never saw him again. But I will tell you, he stuck with me. He really did. I'll never forget him.
And maybe that was the point.
Maybe
one of the biggest tragedies in a tragic loss is being forgotten. It's like a second death in a way. It's the moment when nobody remembers your name.
Right.
Does that trap people in the sense that they have this need to be relevant again and feel like they're alive again?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's when they bridge from the afterlife and this life. Who knows? We don't know. This is all theory, but...
Right. And I think he's not the only one that I have felt death from or seen death through their eyes.
Right.
Experienced that.
You get the joys of that experience quite often.
That's part of the gift. I mean, I've seen everything from gunshots to hangings to you name it. And
it creates a lot of empathy for what people go through.
And it's hard, honestly. It's hard seeing some of that. And I have had to tell Spirit before in the past, listen, don't show me anymore. When it gets really bothersome, I'll tell them, don't show me anymore.
Dude, I believe you. It was rough. Spare me the details. We believe you.
And sometimes they'll show you themselves in their death state for a couple different reasons. One, it could be just to show you what happened to them. Look what I went through.
Yeah.
But sometimes if their intent is not good, they can show you those things just for the scare factor.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. We don't know.
You feel them out. I've been dealing with Spirit for a while now to know I can usually feel the intent of a spirit right up front. I know if they're malicious.
So you get that way by seeing the pattern over the years, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Just getting experience with Spirit and knowing how they present, what it feels like, what good ones feel like, what negative ones feel like, just getting used to that energy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's almost like I can just tell if they're of good intent or not, and I won't mess with them if they're not of good intent.
So sometimes you get psychic communication with Spirit associated with a location, or at least nearby, and then you have these transients.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're a mobile psychic clinic.
I've never heard it described that way, but
every location, if there's something present there, you'll probably pick up on it, and then somebody else is going to see an opportunity and step in to be heard.
Quite possibly, yeah. I've been doing readings for people at spirit fairs and stuff, and then a spirit will jump in because that person knows a friend of a friend or something, and they're like, hey, I need you to get this message across.
What do you think about the environment, though? Because we're talking about the Quartz Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So
it can
there's a paranormal theory that is like a battery, like holds energy that can be drawn from. So do you think there's connection there? Maybe that's why this location could be
housing some? Yeah, quite possibly. Just like railroad tracks give off high levels of EMF.
Right. Railroad in the area. This is in a valley of the Quartz Mountains. You see the mountains in the daytime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in that
Water
area.
gives off that running energy. You have limestone, you have carbon, all these. Yeah, all
and
those can be a
it's very
factor.
spiritual. It's native land. It
Mhm.
historically
Yeah.
Native American property, and yeah,
And I would say some of the spirits that I encounter really make me remember these investigations. It's like they stand out to you because of the spirits that are there. It's like the personalities of the spirits that you encountered. Just like at Kendall's with Sam. Now, I'll never look at Kendall's the
Yeah.
same. And he wasn't to the location. He was transient and passing by, saw the light. It's like Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you.
yeah.
But overall, it was a good investigation. I'm glad we got to go. And I know the owner would always be like, all right, come back up.
Yeah, once again has become like a friend of ours.
Mm-hmm. And she'll
And-
usually contact and say, hey, I've had something new going on. Every so often, she'll get in
And there's
contact with us.
definitely a labor of love going on there,
For
lots
sure.
that she's put into that property. It means a lot to people of the area, especially if you grew up there and you've been to that amusement park as a child, even
Mhm.
in the
Good
60s.
memories. Yeah, they had monkey cages. They had animals there, like a little
Yeah.
petting zoo there. It was a big deal for the area back
So
then.
it doesn't feel like anything negative. It feels like it's all good energy there,
Oh, yeah. Nothing
and-
malicious.
unless you bring malicious intent with you. And always focus on the positive, always bringing in good energy to
Rather
wherever you
than the
go,
bad.
and leaving that behind is one of our goals.
So we hoped you guys enjoyed this episode for the Wind and Stone. I think each case file is different. Each place is different. The evidence a lot of times can be different. The experiences, the ghosts that are there, everything's just it can be different. So that's why we share some of these case files with you guys, because to us, these are memorable places where we have been and enjoyed. And sometimes we go back more than once or twice.
So reach out and let us know if you have any topic suggestions, any type of episode that you want us to do more of, or anything that we haven't covered before that you would like for us to discuss from the viewpoint of the psychic and the skeptic.
So you can find us wherever you enjoy your podcasts, and thank you for listening.
Because the paranormal is the normal.
Not yet understood.